They laughed as they told me I wasn't welcome at my own sister's wedding. My mom said I'd ruin the vibe, and my brother-in-law joked that I didn't fit the family brand. Standing there, holding the invitation they accidentally mailed, I realized I wasn't just forgotten. I was erased. If you've ever felt like the outcast, this story will break you, then build you. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you believe in quiet revenge and sweet justice. I didn't argue. I didn't fight. I just said, sure, and quietly booked a one-way ticket to Iceland the same night. No goodbye post. No guilt trip. Just silence. My flight left while they were finalizing the rehearsal dinner. A week later, the wedding pictures were all over Instagram. Sparkling chandeliers, flower walls, fake laughter, the whole influencer fairy tale package. But there was something else too. A leak. A blurry screenshot of a private group chat. The bridesmaids. Mocking the groom's past affairs. The maid of honor? Apparently, not just his ex, but his current side hobby too. I watched. From a hot spring in Reykjavik as the comment section exploded, my phone buzzed non-stop. Did you see this? Is it real? Did you leak it? I didn't reply, but I smiled. What they didn't know was that during my disgraceful absence, I wasn't sightseeing. I was building something. Something that would shift the entire power dynamic in our family. And the real explosion? That was just one text away. It started with a simple message. We need to talk. It was from my sister. She wanted to fix things, to bring me back into the family fold. But what she didn't realize was that the moment she sent that text, everything changed. I hadn't answered a single call, hadn't even peeked at their desperate, pleading messages. I'd left them all on red, but I could feel the weight of the upcoming disaster, and I wasn't going to let them off easy. I arrived back in the States a few days before the wedding, but no one knew. I had a plan, and my sister? She thought I was going to be her savior, swooping in with a smile and a hug to mend the broken family. But she didn't know what I had become. The night before the big day, I was at my old family house. I watched as everyone scurried around in a frenzy, preparing for the wedding. The world, it seemed, was perfect. They were perfect. But the cracks, they were there, just waiting to split open. I found my mom pacing in the kitchen, looking through some old photo albums, trying to recapture the perfect family image she wanted to project. You're really doing this, huh? She muttered, under her breath, her voice tight. What is she thinking, leaving me out of the ceremony? I raised an eyebrow. Funny you should ask, Mom, because I was wondering the same thing. Her face turned pale. She hadn't expected me to be back in the house. But I didn't say a word. I didn't have to. The silence spoke louder than anything. As she turned to face me, her eyes flickered with panic. She knew. She knew what was coming, and she wasn't ready for it. In the living room, my sister, sitting with her fiancé, exchanged glances. They thought they had it all under control. But as they smiled and prepped their speech for the perfect wedding toast, the real truth was about to be revealed. The real secret. The one I had buried for years. The one I never told a soul. I think it's time to tell everyone what I've been up to, I said slowly. After all, I wouldn't want to ruin your perfect wedding tomorrow. The room went cold. And then I pulled up the email. The one I had sent weeks ago to the family lawyer, outlining my new venture. My business. The one that, in a matter of days, had secured millions. A silent empire that no one saw coming. I pressed send. And as their phones vibrated, I watched my family's perfect world crack wide open. The chaos began the moment my mom's phone screen lit up with the email. Her eyes darted between the phone and me, but there was no hiding the truth anymore. It was right there in black and white. My company, my success, my empire. All built quietly, away from their prying eyes. I wasn't just back in the game. I had won the game. My sister's fiancé, who had once looked at me like I was the black sheep of the family, froze. This is a joke, right? He asked, his voice shaking. But it wasn't a joke. It was the truth. I guess you didn't know, I said, letting the words hit them like a tidal wave. I've been making deals, building my brand, while you've been busy with your wedding plans. My sister blinked, trying to gather herself, her hands shaking. But we've always been a team, she whispered, her voice cracking. We're family. I didn't respond right away. Instead, I watched the tension rise in the room, the silence heavy with guilt, regret, and shock. The reality was sinking in for them. They had underestimated me, pushed me away, mocked my dreams, and now they had no choice but to watch as the family member they thought they could control had outgrown them. But the best part? It wasn't just about the business. It was what came with it. The power, the freedom, the control over the future. I'm not here to ruin your wedding, sis, I said, my voice low but sharp. I'm here to make sure you understand what you've lost. And that's when I dropped the second bombshell, the one they never saw coming. The company wasn't just mine. I had made it clear I was selling off parts of it to the highest bidder. And the very first call I made was to a competitor who'd been eyeing the family's old real estate investments for years. Those properties, the ones my family had squandered, they were now on the brink of being sold to someone else. I wasn't just securing my future. I was taking back everything they thought they owned. You were all so quick to judge me, I continued. But you didn't know I was planning this, did you? The room grew colder, their faces paler, as the weight of my words crushed them. The look on my mom's face was enough to satisfy me. Her eyes were wide, filled with disbelief. You're destroying everything. I smiled, not with malice, but with cold satisfaction. No, Mom, I'm rebuilding everything. Just then, the phone rang. It was the lawyer. I glanced at the screen and answered it. Is the transfer complete? I asked, my voice steady. The lawyer's voice was muffled, but I could hear the answer loud and clear. It's done. The deal went through. I looked at my family, the realization hitting them all at once. What they didn't know was that their carefully built empire was crumbling, and I was the one holding the sledgehammer. The wedding? It was about to be the last thing on their minds. The sound of my family's voices filled the room, but they were no longer the voices of the people who once mocked me. No, now they were desperate, pleading voices. My mom, shaking her head, tried to find words, but none came out. She was lost in the gravity of what I had just done. Why? Why would you do this? She choked out, her voice barely above a whisper. I could see the tears in her eyes, but this time, they didn't soften me. They didn't make me feel bad. They were the tears of someone who had spent years thinking they could control me, belittle me, and push me down, only to see everything crumble around them. I did it because you never believed in me, I said, my words measured, but full of fire. I did it because you taught me to work in silence. And look where that got me. Stronger, richer, and now I own everything you took for granted. My sister stood up, her face red, eyes wide with a mix of fear and shame. This isn't you, she whispered, almost pleading. We're family. You're right. We were family, I replied coolly, my gaze steady. But the second you kicked me out, that's when you stopped being my family, and I'm not the one who destroyed it. You all did. The phone call with the lawyer was still hanging in the air like an unspoken truth. My company wasn't just a business. It was a weapon, and they were just beginning to realize how powerful it was. I glanced down at the contract on the table, in front of me. It was a simple thing, but it held the key to everything I had built. The money, the power, the freedom. They had no idea just how much I had been planning, how much I had been waiting for this moment. "You know, I could have let you have your perfect wedding," I said, my voice growing softer, but still laced with venom. I could have come back like nothing happened, played the role of the dutiful sister, smiled through the whole thing, and just let it go. But I couldn't, because I've spent too many years watching you all pretend you're better than me. You can't just erase me and expect me to come crawling back. I let the silence linger for a moment. The weight of my words was hanging in, the air, thick with betrayal. But it wasn't enough. I needed more. "I'll tell you what," I said slowly. "You can still have your wedding. You can still have your perfect family, but it's going to cost you." Their faces shifted again, the panic setting in. My sister's fiancé finally spoke up, his voice trembling. "What do you want?" I leaned forward, locking eyes, with him, my smile cold and unforgiving. "I want you to understand that every single thing you took from me, every opportunity, every ounce of respect, I'm taking it back, and I'm done being the one you stepped on." And then, I dropped it, the final devastating truth. I want my shares in the family business, starting today. There it was, the one thing they could never give me, the thing they thought they could keep forever, the power that would make me not just a player, but the dominant force. I stood up, slipping my phone back into my pocket. "You have two choices. You can either fight me, or you can get out of my way." I turned my back on them, hearing their voices crack in desperation behind me. But I was already walking out, the door, leaving them behind. The wedding? It didn't matter anymore. What mattered was that they had finally seen who I was. And what they hadn't understood all these years was that I was never the one who had been left behind. I was the one who walked away with it all. The morning of the wedding arrived, and I knew what was coming. I had made my move, and now it was time to watch them squirm. The guests were arriving, the bride was getting ready, and everything seemed as if it would go off without a hitch, except for one thing. I wasn't there. The wedding began, and I could hear the laughter and music spilling through the open windows of the grand venue. My family was trying their best to maintain the illusion of perfection, but inside, I knew it was all falling apart. I could feel the tension in the air, the whispers and sideways glances as they kept checking their phones. Then, it happened. Midway through the ceremony, just as my sister was about to say her vows, the screen behind her flickered to life. No, one was expecting it. The video was supposed to be a surprise, a sweet little clip to celebrate their love. But what flashed across the screen wasn't love. It was a screenshot of a legal document, the one that confirmed my ownership of the family business. The boss. Guests gasped, and my sister's face drained of color. Her fiancé looked at her, then at the screen, then back at her, confusion and shock written all over his face. The wedding was suddenly in chaos. My family scrambled, trying to shut down the video feed, but it was too late. The truth had been exposed, and there was no way to hide it now. My mother stood frozen, her mouth open in disbelief. My sister's voice quivered as she tried to regain control of the situation, but she couldn't. Not anymore. I stood outside, watching everything unfold from a distance, a calm smile spreading across my face. I had won. The chaos inside the wedding venue reached a crescendo as guests began whispering about the scandal, and my family tried in vain to save face. I didn't care. My satisfaction came not from seeing their humiliation, but from the fact that for the first time in years, they were all forced to acknowledge the one thing they had never wanted to see: that I was never the one they could control. The wedding wasn't just ruined, it was exposed for what it truly was: a facade. My family's carefully constructed image of perfection had crumbled, and I was the one who had torn it apart. And as I watched them from a distance, I realized something even more powerful than my success or their downfall: the freedom. The freedom to walk away from a family that had never truly understood me. The freedom to build something of my own, without anyone holding me back. In the end, it wasn't about revenge. It was about proving to myself that I was worthy of everything they thought they could take from me. I wasn't the loser they had always made me out to be. I was the one who rose. As the wedding ended in disaster, and my family faced the consequences of their actions, I knew one thing for sure. I had finally taken back what was mine, and I didn't need them to see it. I didn't need anyone to validate my success. I had done it on my own. With a final glance at the mess they had made, I turned and walked away. The story was over, but my journey, that had just begun.